Hello and welcome to FoundHER Voice podcast. I'm your host, Valerie. I am the founder and CEO of FoundHER Circle, where women entrepreneurs connect, empower, and thrive. I'm also a business coach and wellness advocate deeply passionate about helping women rise. I believe every woman has a story and a voice. No woman was created for silence. Yet many were taught to quiet themselves. This podcast is where that changes. I share my microphone with women who have built businesses and stepped boldly into their calling. When you share your story, you give another woman permission to believe she can too. Ready to amplify your voice? Join FoundHER Circle or explore opportunities via the link in the notes. This is more than a conversation, it's a movement. Welcome to FoundHER Voice podcast.
Hey, welcome back to FoundHER Voice podcast. I'm your host, Valerie. Today, we are going to talk about this piece of jewelry right here, which is founded and designed by Deborah Marie. If you know, she was on the podcast back last month. But before we get into all that, if you're new here, welcome. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment. I love doing this podcast and I am always looking for new supporters. And to all the women that support me, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate each and every one of you. So, there was no recording last week due to my mom being in the hospital. She has COPD, heart failure. She has dementia. So the days are long, right? But she's back home, thank goodness. And of course, all the medications changed again. New medication was prescribed. Lab work is still crazy off the charts. But hopefully the cardiologist will get that straightened out. Hopefully, right? At this point, I don't know what to do. I looked at her lab results today when they came through, and there is so many things that are way below what they should be. So they're very low. And then there's some things that are just, barely over, just a little high. And then there's a couple of things that are just, I'm going to say off this chart high. Okay. And I'm just sitting here looking at these numbers on my phone and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, why is the doctor not calling me, telling me, okay, Valerie, these are our next steps. This is what we're going to do. But they're just like, just start her on some new medication. We'll see her back in 4 weeks and take new blood work and see how that works. That's not the answer that I want. That is not. So she's been resting a lot, just like she was, before she went in the hospital. So I can only do what I can do. Make sure she's fed, make sure her blood pressure and her oxygen level and all the good things stay where they're supposed to be. And, just help her where I can, right? So I was dealing with that. So of course, in between all that and then, dealing with the kids and the house and all the things that come with that, you have to rest, right? You have to take that time. You have to take a break. And so I just would turn off my phone and I would just go to sleep at night. And if any of you know me, that is just not like me. Because I'm the type of person that I do all the stuff with the kids and the house and laundry and, organizing and all the appointments and everything during the day. And then I work at night once I get these kids to sleep, right? So for me to turn off my phone and not work was it wasn't right. It didn't feel right, but I was exhausted, right? So I think I'm finally caught up on my sleep, and that's a good thing. And for all of you that took the time to message me, text me, check on me while I was in the hospital that week with Mom, thank you so much to each and every one of you girls. I love you all, and I don't know what I would do without you guys in my corner, truly. So that is that. Moving on to today. I decided, to get on social media, which, I was on and off, but not that much. Look at all the numbers because, as an entrepreneur and you're always posting and you're always, keeping up with the trends. And, I really don't keep up with the trends. That's just not my thing. I'm out here to, collaborate with more women, help more women with their businesses, do these clarity calls, push my ebooks that I have, and just help where I can, right? And then create events, okay? So I get on social media today and look at my numbers and they are way down. And I was like, oh man, which I knew that was going to happen. But sometimes you have to focus on what's important. And yes, business is important, but at the end of the day, your family cannot be replaced, right? So that's where my main focus was. And so I seen these numbers and I was like, shit. I mean, I have been slacking. Like I could have did a couple posts, here and there, but I just decided not to do anything. So I got to pay for that now. So here I am, like getting my notebook out before, I start this podcast recording. And I'm like, I need to do, and I'm just making a list because, this is what I do. I make that list. Like I got to do A, B, C to get to X, Y, Z. Okay. So I made that list and then I looked at it and I was like, excuse me, how am I going to get all that done? But, I will get it done. It's just usually at night, I make a list with like 3 things on it. Like ever since I started coaching 2 years ago and dealing with different coaches and stuff and coming across this one specific coach, she said, Valerie, do you make a list every week? Do you do it daily? How do you do it? And I said, my last coach told me that I had to make a list and I had to put 10 things on there that I had to get done. And that's just like impossible to me. And she was like, all right, let's make a daily list of 3 things. So you put the most important first. So you put 3 things that are important that you need to get done the next day. And ever since I've worked with her, I have just been doing that. So to see my list tonight that had 31 things on it, 31, yes, not 3, 31. I was like, ooh, I don't know how I'm going to get this done, but okay, we can do this. We can do this. So I need to start that tomorrow. Okay. Now, getting back to everything, I had Deborah Marie on the podcast back in March. And, she is a brain plasticity patient and she is an artist. She designed this piece of jewelry. She does jewelry and she is just, in my eyes, amazing. And I say amazing because from where she was, and then what she went through with the whole brain injury, where she couldn't talk, she couldn't walk, her muscles and everything was all drawled up. And to see her now today at 70 years old and just doing all the great things, yes, she has to take time to rest. Yes, she needs, days in between when she works. But it's just amazing to me. And I say that because, I feel like there's so many people out there that once something like that happens to them, they don't push themselves to try to get better. It's kind of like their family, is their caregiver. So they just accept where they are and they just deal with that versus looking for answers and keep trying different, things to see what's going to work, what's going to make it better. And, thank goodness that Deborah, had a little bit of support to push her to keep going to rehab and doing all the things that she did to get where she is today. And so she is the founder of Gemassist Brain, LLC. And she designed this piece of jewelry. And she has her logo right here on this heart. It has a diamond on it. And the good thing about this is, so it is a heart, but then you can also wear it. You can flip it up and let it hang from this, and then it's an ace. And then of course you can always have a pendant hanging from it, and then you can have a pendant hanging from here. You can put a diamond or a stone or something in there, and then you could have birthstones up here, and also on the back here you could have something engraved. Now you're probably like, okay, Valerie, but why did you become an ambassador for Deborah and for Gemassist Brain? And the reason is because, she designs the jewelry, she does the art. Her being a brain plasticity patient, she's always giving back. And she gives back to Cleveland Clinic. So, they're the top in the US that I know of for brain and spine. And she goes there often. And when she goes, she usually stays about a week as they do their different tests on her and do whatever she needs done, right? So as she was going through her journey of getting better and where she is today, she would see all these different patients, that was in these rehab centers and, different doctor's appointments and specialists that she would see. And she knew how much money, those appointments cost, those shots cost, the medication that they have to be on cost. So that is why she does everything that she does, is because she gives a portion of those proceeds back. And I love that about her. And also, not only, me being an ambassador and really putting this out there for her, I feel like it's so connected to me because, my mom has dementia. So, something's wrong in the brain, right? And then Dustin, my boyfriend, he has PTSD from being in the Army. So, it just goes hand in hand. And then, of course, Deborah is always looking to connect with, people that have been in the service, because she has did so much research on different things that affect the brain. And, when people go out on missions and then they come back, sometimes there's different things that has happened to them where, they'll go to the VA, and the VA, I say, only does so much, okay? And Deborah and I had this long talk one night about, Valerie, the VA isn't running this type of test. These soldiers need this type of test ran to see what is going on in the brain. And if they would run it, I really believe that this test would help so many veterans, because as we all know, veterans suffer with suicide. I think it's like 1 out of every 22, or anyway, it's crazy to me that these doctors aren't thinking of running these certain tests. And yes, I know, like there's doctors and then there's specialists. But I feel like, if someone comes to you with a certain symptom and, it has to deal with something in the brain or something, I feel like you should be referred out to, a specialist that deals with the brain. And not just any specialist, I mean, the best of the best. These men and women have served our country for us. So, I think it's only fair that they would have the top of the top doctors. But, so this is why I will be an ambassador for Gemassist Brain, and I will promote this pendant. So of course, if you would like more information on the pendant, you can go to deborahmarieofficial.com and you can look at it and you can purchase it there. I will be helping Deborah get it in different jewelry stores as well. And then there is a big contract coming up towards the end of the year with Cleveland Clinic to have it throughout Cleveland clinics across the U.S. and possibly expanding around the world. So that is just fabulous, and I love it. And I love it for Deborah especially, you know. And also, as we're talking about Deborah and all the great things that she's doing, she signed up to be in Johnny Depp's People's Artist Awards. Okay, so if you go to peoplesartist.org, you will find a bunch of artists on there, and Deborah Marie is on there with her art, and then she has some jewelry and stuff on there, and the voting starts in 5 days. So ladies, let's help Deborah win this, because I would love for her to win this. This would just be great for her and all the great things that she's doing, right? So, like I said, go to peoplesartist.org and then you can vote for Deborah Marie. I'm sure it's like 1 free vote per day is usually how those websites are ran. If you are looking for a piece of jewelry that has a great cause behind it, I'm really going to tell you to look into this, okay? And like I said, you can always add things to it. You can flip it up, flip it down, do all the things, okay? Now, before I leave, I want to introduce you to my little baby. Yes, Winona. So I had a Winona and I had a Reba. But unfortunately, Reba went to heaven because, well, we're just going to say she got out of the cage during a rainstorm, and, well, Linda tried to save her, but it didn't work. Let's just say that, okay? So, this is little Winona, and she's so funny. Here the kids wanted chickens. Well, I wanted chickens, right? Because the price of eggs are just getting crazy, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's get a few chickens, and then we'll get our own eggs, right? Well, Valerie was not taking into consideration that these are baby chicks, and they have to grow up, you know, so many months before they start, you know, laying eggs. So, here we are, you know, and I think we got about 4 more months before she probably will start laying eggs. So I'm like, okay, well, note to self, next time we're going to just buy some hens that are already laying. That's what we're going to do. So little Winona is just cream of the crop over here. She gets all this attention all the time. And she's so pretty. God love her. So I can't wait for her to start laying my little eggs. And then I got to get some other little chickens. And I really want a chicken that lays lavender eggs. So, ladies, if you know where I can get one of them chickens in Kentucky, please drop that in the comment for me, okay? Because I want the lavender eggs. All right? So, thank you for being a part of this journey with me and following this podcast, and I love you all. And I will see you guys next week. Make sure you check out the advertisements after this. Bye. Say bye, Winona. Say bye, 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 bye.
It's your time to grow. Get started with Little Pot Design Studio today.